Aloha, and thank you for joining me on this short presentation around cooperation versus competition. First of all, thanks again for for coming along and taking part in PTC this year. It's a really important event in the subsea calendar, and one that even though unfortunately it's virtual this year, I'm sure will be beneficial to everybody that takes part, and we are definitely looking forward to taking part this year, and hopefully next year seeing everybody again in person. So competition, obviously any market, not just telecoms, but any market benefits from competition, whether that be in terms of driving down price, increasing innovation, bringing new products, new markets to the forefront is super important, and that's no different for us. You know, we at Seaborn, we compete with plenty of other operators in the Americas as a region, in delivering similar products, similar services. We all like to say that ours are somewhat different, but at the end of the day, it's somewhat of a commodity service for the large part, with a few exceptions. And we all compete and we deliver to the same places in most cases, and you know that's all well and good. The one big difference is that unlike many sectors in telecoms, even though we compete, we don't necessarily have to all deliver our own products and services unique from one another. We can share infrastructure. You know, if you're selling widgets or cars or whatever it might be, you're not sharing infrastructure. You're selling your product independently of anybody else. We're able to do that, and we're able to benefit from that. Unfortunately, for better or worse, that's not always the case. We don't always take advantage of that. This feeling of enabling competition by sharing infrastructure is one that, especially in a region like the Americas that still needs huge amounts of infrastructure investment, still needs a huge amount of network development, of just in some cases just pure capacity, to be able to deliver, you know, the types of services that in other parts of the world we all take for granted. All those things considered, it's hugely important that yes, we do compete, and yes, we do all deliver the services that customers want, and yes, that helps to drive down pricing, and it drives innovation, and it enables, you know, development across the region as different players try to reach different parts of the region. But it's all got to be done in a sustainable way, and you know, the most logical way to do that is to cooperate, you know, on common core network elements. Cooperate with one another to develop that infrastructure, to bring that huge capacity to different parts of the region that today don't necessarily have it. If you take a really good example is the Caribbean, you know, over 60 million people. Now, admittedly, it's 30 odd plus different countries, but it's over 60 million people. Largely underserved in terms of infrastructure over the last 15 to 20 years, in terms of region-wide sustainable infrastructure there, but very, very competitive in that marketplace, specifically in each of those individual countries, but even across the region, uniquely competitive to the degree that this feeling of enablement by sharing infrastructure is really strong in that part of the world. Cooperation there in developing region-wide, sustainable, high capacity and reliable infrastructure would be a major step forward for that part of the world. We see it happening in other places. We see that type of cooperation now, specifically with, you know, for example, the hyperscalers. They cooperate on, you know, large infrastructure projects because they know that they're taking unique products to those endpoints, but they're sharing the common infrastructure that gets them there. And that's you know, it's a challenge. It's a challenge in our space because the tendency is always to think, well, you know, we have to be first to market. We have to have a competitive edge over all of our different, you know, operators in the space that we compete against. But that does not necessarily mean that you can't cooperate with one another in rolling out what is really critical infrastructure for you know, a region-wide development of a network that can sustain development in that region way beyond what we see today. And that's really that's the core message of this short little video here is, yes, we can all compete, and we should compete on quality, and we should compete on price, but also we should be sensible about how we develop and roll out new infrastructure. And if we can benefit one another and enable one another, enable one another by sharing the cost and the load and the pure effort in building these networks, then we should do that too. There is often a common drive to be the prime supplier for a customer. There's nothing wrong with being, in the background providing that service as a secondary route, or as a protected route, or as part of an overall solution that you're only providing a piece part of. It's still revenue, and it should still be recognized as revenue and seen as valuable. But in doing that, this concept of shared operation and shared ownership and shared development of critical network infrastructure is really, I think, for regions like the Americas, as we've seen in other parts of the world, it's critical. It's critical to moving forward and really developing the region and providing the level of service that customers need. And that's really the message here. So thank you for taking the time to watch me and listen to me. I hope it made sense. And I look forward to seeing as many as you can over the next few days at PTC, and hopefully in person very soon. Thank you.